For years, the Valari had moved through human space without being seen. They were not ghosts or magic, just extremely advanced. Their bodies were thin and tall, almost see-through when standing still. They used special tech that bent light, sound, and even thoughts. No one could detect them, not machines, not people, not even animals. They watched humans from the shadows. They listened to every conversation, recorded every government secret, and walked freely through bases and starships. No one noticed. They were proud of their success. To them, humans were still growing, still simple. And like any growing species, humans could become dangerous. So the Valari made plans. Plans to control, to prepare, and maybe, if needed, to stop humanity. Derek was just a linguist. He worked in a quiet building, far from the action, in a department most people ignored. He was not a soldier, didn't carry a gun or wear a uniform. But he had something the Valari didn't understand, curiosity that never rested. He spent his days listening to signals, alien voices, fragments of old space chatter, strange patterns found in deep space transmissions. He translated and cataloged them for the defense agency. Some of the sounds were old distress calls. Others were songs or speeches. But recently, he had started to hear something else. Sometimes when he played a recording back, there would be a soft hum in the background. Not a machine sound. It was like a breath, or the flap of a robe moving. He thought it was just noise at first. Maybe a glitch. But it kept happening. Only when he was alone. Only in quiet rooms, and always behind him. At night he began to feel like someone was watching him. Not just a feeling. Something real. His chair would be slightly out of place. The lights would flicker, then return. His files would be open when he was sure he had closed them. He asked around. No one else noticed anything strange. They laughed and said he worked too hard. He didn't tell them he had started whispering. 2 empty rooms, just to see what would happen. I know you're there, he said one night. Nothing. Can you hear me? Silence then. Once, just once. When he said, I see you, a book fell off the shelf. No wind, no movement, just ... dropped. He didn't run. He smiled. He began researching old Valari myths. Deep in old databases, Derek found strange phrases written in languages barely translated. One stood out. When the ear of the storm listens, the veil will break. What did it mean? The ear of the storm? Was it a person? A type of hearing? Derek became obsessed. He read everything the agency had on psychic frequencies, old alien languages, and strange human senses. Some believed a few humans had a rare gift away to sense things others couldn't. Some called it intuition. Others called it nonsense. Derek called it his job. He built small devices in his apartment, sound traps, light sensors, motion detectors, tied to speakers. And he waited. One night while sipping tea, he heard it again. The soft sound behind him, like someone breathing. He didn't turn. Instead, he whispered, You're not as quiet as you think. Nothing. But the teacup on his desk moved, just a little, not pushed, like it was nudged by air. You blinked, Derek said quietly. He stood, walked toward the corner of the room, and slowly placed his hand out. He felt nothing, but something inside him said yes. Someone is here. He didn't tell anyone. It's not yet. But he knew he was right. On a cold Tuesday morning, Derek walked into his lab early. The building was still dark. No one else had arrived. He sat down, turned on a low-frequency mic, and began whispering in several languages. Human, Martian, trade dialect, and finally -VEHL. Ari. It was a guess, a risky one. But when he said, Why do you hide? In Valari, the light above him flickered. A hum filled the room. His computer screen turned black, then green letters appeared. Who are you? Leaned forward. I'm the one listening. No reply. He smiled. He didn't need one. It made contact. From far away, in the shadows of a Valari ship hidden above Earth, the watchers panicked. This wasn't possible. No human should hear them. No human should speak their language. They argued among themselves. Maybe it was a trick. Maybe Derek was dangerous. They made a choice. The watchers would continue. But now, they would watch him. But Derek was ready. He looked up at the camera in the corner of the room. Even though he knew the Valari didn't use human cameras, still, he whispered, "I'll be waiting." And somewhere above, the watchers, once proud and silent, heard a sound they never expected: fear. After that day, Derek changed. He still acted normal, still showed up to work, still smiled at his coworkers. But inside, he was different. Something had opened a door he didn't know existed. His hearing became sharper, his senses more alert. He could walk into a room and tell if something had been moved by a few inches. He could hear whispers no one else could hear. He no longer doubted himself. The Valari were watching him now. He felt it everywhere: his apartment, his lab, even in the elevator. They thought they were being careful. They were wrong. He built a small earpiece using old parts, tuned to low frequencies humans couldn't hear. But Derek wasn't like other humans. When he wore the earpiece, he could catch faint sounds, strange clicks, soft breathing, even distant alien speech. At first it was just noise, but slowly patterns began to form. He stayed late in the lab every night. The security guards didn't question him. He was known as the quiet guy who worked too hard. He liked it that way, no attention. Just silence and the sound of shadows moving. One night, he stood in the center of the lab and whispered, "Why are you still here?" Nothing answered, not a sound. He smiled again. That was always their mistake. Thinking silence meant safety. He pressed a button on a small remote in his pocket. The walls lit up faintly with a wave of pulses harmless to humans, but not to cloaked watchers. The air in front of him shimmered for half a second. Barely noticeable, but Derek saw it. "You blinked again," he said. The shimmer vanished. On a Valari ship orbiting Earth, panic spread. Derek was not just gifted, he was dangerous. His voice somehow carried through their layers of defense. They feared what he might learn next. Some argued they should retreat. Others wanted to erase him. Silence him before the humans discovered more. A vote was taken. A small team was chosen. 3 Valari hunters, trained in perfect stealth, sent to remove Derek quietly. No mess, no sound. Just disappear him. But Derek had been preparing. He set up his apartment with special devices. Pressure plates under the carpet. Silent alarms. Sound system that scanned for movement without making a noise. He didn't know when they would come, but he knew they would. That night, he sat on his couch, drinking tea, staring at nothing. Calm. Patient. He felt it before anything happened. Shift in air pressure. A soft breath that wasn't his. The sound of a foot that didn't hit the ground but still moved the air. He didn't look up. He just whispered, "You're late." One of the hunters froze. How could the human know? Derek slowly reached behind the couch and pressed a button. A wave of high-frequency sound filled the room just for a second. Not loud, not painful, but enough to confuse cloaking systems. In front of him, a figure flickered. It's like a ghost becoming real. It's then gone again. "You should have stayed hidden," Derek said. The figure lunged. But Derek rolled aside and dropped a small sphere. It cracked on the floor and released a pulse of light and sound. The room filled with shimmering waves. One of the Valari screamed a sound so sharp it made the walls shake. The hunter was exposed, crouched and gasping. Derek didn't attack. He didn't need to. He stepped forward and spoke softly in Valari, "You've been seen." The hunter froze. How did this human know their language? The other 2 cloaked hunters moved in, but Derek had already activated a field. Their suits buzzed, lost power, and dropped them into view. All 3 stood before him, confused and unsure. "I'm not your enemy," Derek said, "but I can be." The Valari stared, shocked. Humans weren't supposed to be able to do this. Their tech wasn't advanced enough. Their minds weren't trained enough. But here stood one man alone. Using old parts and words, and he had stopped them. Derek walked to the center of the room, looked at the leader of the 3, and whispered again, "Tell your council. We are not deaf. We are not blind. and we are done being watched." The Valari disappeared in seconds. No fight, no more tricks. They retreated, shaken. On the ship above, their commander watched the footage. It made no sense. Derek had no weapon, no army, just awareness. And still, he had made 3 hunters flee. The commander gave a new order. No more contact. No more watchers. Observe only from far distance. Avoid the human named Derek. But deep in the corners of HFY Space, another group had noticed. They had been watching too, not just Earth, but the HFY themselves. They saw Derek's message and listened. Not all Valari wanted war. Some were. Curious? On Earth? Derek walked into work the next morning as if nothing had happened. He smiled at the receptionist, drank his usual coffee, and sat in his lab. He pulled out a notebook and wrote one sentence. "The veil is thin. They are listening. So am I." And in the far corner of the room, a shadow moved, but didn't stay long, because now they weren't sure who was watching who. Derek knew things had changed. After the night in his apartment, the air around him felt different. For the first time, the watchers had stepped into the light forced out by sound. Light and words they didn't expect a human to know. He had seen them, really seen them. Tall, thin shapes with smooth skin, faces hidden behind strange patterns, eyes like moving glass. They had looked surprised, maybe even afraid. But Derek also knew this wouldn't be the end, so he prepared for what was coming. Next, he spent his nights adjusting his devices, making them smaller, quieter, smarter. He placed tiny sensors in his office, his clothes, and even the corners of his hallway. He didn't want to trap anyone. He wanted to see again. He needed to know how many were still watching. And they were still watching. Every morning, he awoke to small signs. A book moved half an inch. A window unlocked. Once, his plant had been turned just enough to block a sensor. They were trying to study him now, not just erase him. They wanted to know how he did it. Derek didn't tell anyone. He worked alone. But deep inside, he wondered, am I the only one who sees them? He got his answer 3 days later. It came in the form of an envelope. On his desk, no stamp, no handwriting, no name. Just a small folded note. You are not alone. Meet at Station 9, midnight. Bring the ear. He didn't know who sent it. But the ear could only mean one thing: his listening device. The one he had made, from old parts, tuned to strange frequencies. The one that helped him hear the Valari breathing. That night, Derek took no weapons. Just the small device in his notebook. He reached Station 9, an old service tunnel under the city, long abandoned. The walls were covered in dust, the lights flickered with age. He walked slowly, steps echoing softly in the silence. Then a voice came from the dark, a human voice. "You're late." A woman stepped out, dark hair, calm eyes, wearing a small headset and carrying a strange device like his. She wasn't surprised to see him. "You really heard them?" Derek said. "You too?" She nodded. "All my life." Her name was Maya. She was part of a secret group called the Awakened. Not many people knew about them. They were humans born with sharp senses, rare minds that could feel things others ignored. For years they had noticed the Valari. Some caught shadows. Others heard whispers. But none had done what Derek did. "You spoke to them," Maya said. "You broke the veil." "I just listened," Derek replied. Maya smiled. "And that's more than anyone else ever managed." She led him deeper into the tunnel, into a hidden room. Inside were 5 others, men and women, each with tools, recordings, and notebooks. They had spent years trying to prove the Watchers existed. Derek had done it in one night. "We've been hunted," one of them said. "We had a base in Europe. It vanished. Is everything gone? No trace." "We don't want war," Maya added. "We want understanding. We want to talk. But we don't want to be hunted." Derek nodded. "They tried that with me." The group shared what they knew. Valari tech, sound patterns, cloaking signals. Derek shared his notes and devices. They found something strange. Some Valari signals were changing. Faster, sharper, more emotional. Some watchers were scared. Others, curious. They're splitting, Maya said. They don't agree anymore. Derek looked down at his notes and circled a line. When the listener speaks, the silent must answer. He looked up and said, "We need to send a message." The group paused. "What kind of message?" Someone asked. Derek smiled. "Something they can't ignore." They worked through the night, adjusting their devices to match Valari communication tones, blending sound and language. It had to be simple, clear, and peaceful, but strong by dawn. They had it. A single sentence, recorded in ancient Valari language, repeated in perfect rhythm. "We see you. We hear you now. Hear us." They broadcasted the message from several hidden points across Earth. Short bursts, low frequency, hard to trace, but enough for the Valari to hear it loud and clear, and they did. On ships above the planet Valari, watchers stood frozen. Their machines blinked red. Their cloaking shields buzzed with warning. Human voices and their language now echoed through their ears. Many were confused. Some were angry. A few were deeply moved. On one hidden ship, an old Valari scholar whispered, "It has begun." The council met, divided and afraid. The humans had pierced their silence, not with weapons, but with understanding. They didn't know how to respond. But some decided to try. 2 nights later, Derek sat alone in his lab. The room was dark. The only light came from his small screen. He wore his earpiece, listening, and then he heard it. Not a breath, not a footstep, but a voice. Soft, broken, trying. "Hard, we hear ... you." He smiled and whispered back, "Then let's speak." Derek didn't sleep that night. After hearing the alien voice reply, his heart kept beating fast. It wasn't fear. It was something else, something deeper. For the first time in human history, the veil between the species had broken without war. Not through weapons, not through force, it's just words. The reply was soft and shaky, but real. "We hear ... you." He saved the recording and sent it to Maya and the awakened group. They played it over and over. No one had ever heard the Valari speak directly to humans before. It was more than proof. It was history. Maya's hands were shaking. "This changes everything," she said. But not everyone in the awakened group felt safe. One of the members, Ben, stood up. "If we can talk to them, it also means they can talk back. And maybe ... do more." "They already attacked me once," Derek said calmly. "But they didn't finish it. They ran. I think they're unsure now." "Or they're planning something bigger," Ben muttered. But Derek didn't believe that. Not all Valari were the same. The voice he heard didn't sound like a hunter. It sounded like someone trying hard to speak, someone nervous, someone alone. Still, they had to be careful. Maya and the group set up more listening points around. The city, they used Derek's signal tuning to improve their range. They didn't send more messages, just waited. And finally, one night something came. Not a voice, but a location, a small signal. Bouncing between human satellites, marked a spot in the middle of the desert, an old radio tower, long abandoned. No words were spoken, just the mark. Then silence. "They want to meet?" Maya said. Ben looked worried. "They want to trap us." Derek shook his head. "We won't bring weapons, just ears." 3 of them went: Derek, Maya, and an older woman named Ella, who once worked in satellite tracking. They wore small microphones to record everything and carried translation pads. They left everything else behind. They reached the tower just before sunrise. The sky was orange and gold, the wind soft. No one was there, or so it seemed. Derek walked ahead, stopped in the middle of the clearing and whispered, "We came." The wind paused. Then slowly the air shimmered in front of them. A shape appeared, tall, thin, not solid at first. Like light bending around glass, it slowly became clearer. A Valari stepped forward, its body cloaked in a smooth, shifting fabric. Its face was hidden under a mask of silver lines that moved with every breath. Maya gasped quietly. Ella held her breath. Derek took one step forward. "You spoke to me," he said. The Valari nodded once. Derek tried to speak in Valari language carefully, slowly. "You hear," the Valari replied. "We hear, we see, ... but not all agree." His voice was low, almost like a breeze through leaves. It didn't come from his mouth, but from the air around him. "We want peace," Derek said. "But we want truth too." The Valari looked at him for a long time, then said, "Truth is dangerous. Even for you." Maya finally spoke. "Why? Do you watch us?" The Valari didn't answer right away. Then he said, "You are like fire in the dark, warm, ... but wild. We fear the burn," Ella whispered. "So you came to control us?" "To learn," the Valari answered. "To choose." "Before you chose for us?" Derek took a slow breath. "But now you see we can choose peace." The Valari's head tilted slightly. "Some of us ... yes." Derek stepped closer. "Why me? Why speak to me first?" "Because you listened when others shouted," the Valari said. "You whispered, at least heard truth in it." Derek smiled. "Then let this be the first step." He reached into his bag and pulled out a small recording pad. He pressed a button. It played the message they had sent. "We see you. We hear you. Now hear us." The Valari stood silent, listening then. He slowly removed the silver mask from his face. Behind it was something soft, pale blue skin, large eyes with layers like glass. No mouth, no nose, just smooth skin and two soft ridges running along his head. Maya whispered, "He's just ... a person. Not a monster, not a ghost. Just someone different." The Valari looked at each of them and said, "My name is Thal." Was the first time a Valari had ever shared a name with a human. They stood there, the four of them, not as enemies, but not yet as friends, just listeners. On both sides. Derek nodded. "I'm Derek." Maya, Ella. Thal looked at the rising sun. "More will come. It's not all friendly. Be ready. Are you still with us?" "Out." Thal gave a slow nod. "I will listen." Then, like mist, he vanished into the morning air. The three humans returned in. Silence. Their minds full of questions. Their hearts full of hope. They now had a name. They had a voice. And they had a chance. But far above Earth, not all Valar were pleased. Some had watched the meeting. They didn't like what they saw. One of the watchers turned away from the screen and said coldly, "We must silence the whispers before they become thunder." After the meeting with Thal, Derek and the Awakened felt both hope and danger. The veil between humans and Valar was breaking, but not all Valar wanted peace. The Council of Valar Elders was divided. Some feared humanity's growing power and wanted to strike first. Others hoped for friendship and understanding. Tensions rose quietly like a storm before the rain. Derek knew the next step was important. If the humans acted with fear or anger, it would destroy the fragile chance for peace. If the Valar pushed too hard, war would follow. He needed a safe place, a neutral ground where both sides could meet as equals. With help from the Awakened and some secret human diplomats, a plan was made. A neutral space station far from Earth and Valar homeworld would be the meeting point. No weapons allowed, no spies, just voices and ears. The news leaked quickly to Valar ships and Earth Command. Many were shocked. Some laughed at the idea that humans and Valar could ever talk as equals, but others watched with nervous curiosity. Derek was chosen to represent Earth. He felt the weight of millions on his shoulders, but tried to stay calm. Maya and Ella prepared him. "Be patient," Ella said. "They expect fear. Show them strength through peace." The day of the meeting arrived. Derek stood in the docking bay of the neutral station. The walls gleamed with soft light, and quiet voices echoed through the halls. His suit felt tight and strange, but he reminded himself of why he was here. Through the doors, The Valerie arrived, silent shapes shifting in and out of visibility. Their cloaks flowed like smoke. One by one, the elders appeared, faces hidden behind their shifting masks. Derek stepped forward. He didn't reach for a weapon or a shield. He only carried a small recording device and his courage. "I speak for Earth," he said clearly. "We come with no hate, only truth." The Valari listened. Then the leader stepped forward. Her mask lowered to reveal pale skin and wide eyes that flickered with light. "Why should we trust you?" I asked in Valari tongue. Derek smiled softly. "It's because we see you not as enemies, but as neighbors. And neighbors must talk." Leader considered his words. A translator spoke. "You whisper softly, human, but your words carry weight." Derek nodded and listened carefully. He pressed play on his device. The message echoed through the hall. "We see you. You. Now hear us." The Valari murmured among themselves. "You speak like us," the leader said. "Not with war, but with hope." Derek replied, "War is easy, peace is hard, but peace is the future." The Valari elders exchanged looks. Some smiled, others frowned. One elder, older and taller, spoke. "Your voice is different. You listen well." "Because we have learned to listen," Derek said. "And to speak without fear." The meeting lasted hours. They shared stories of stars and planets, fears and dreams. They spoke of ancient wars and new beginnings. Derek told of Earth's struggles and hopes. The Valeries shared their past and their fears of losing control. No one promised peace that day. But something changed. Respect grew. The walls between them cracked. After the meeting, Derek walked alone in the station's garden. Soft light shone through glass walls. Strange plants swayed in quiet air. He whispered to himself, "The veil is thinning." Behind a tree, a shadow watched, not hidden, but waiting. Derek turned quickly. The figure stepped out to his Thal. "You did well," Thal said. "They listen now, but not all." Derek replied. Thal nodded. "Some Valerie fear change. Some wish to keep humans in the dark." "We must be ready," Derek said, "not with weapons, but with ears and hearts." Dal smiled faintly. "Then we walk together, human, but beware the path is long." Derek looked up at the stars beyond the glass. "I will walk it," he said. Back on Earth, news of the meeting leaked. Some celebrated the chance for peace. Others feared the Valari would never stop watching. Governments debated, and the awakened prepared for what might come. Derek returned to his quiet lab. He knew this was only the beginning. The whispers between worlds had begun. And sometimes, whispers could roar louder than guns. He sat down, took out his notebook, and wrote, "We are no longer invisible. We are Sinand. We see back." The stars looked cold and distant through the windows of the neutral space station. Derek stood alone, thinking. The meeting had ended, but the weight of what was happening pressed on him. The galaxy was changing. No longer could humans hide in the shadows or pretend to be small and weak. The Valari, once invisible watchers, now knew that humans could listen and whisper back. Derek remembered the first night he heard them. The feeling of being watched, the flicker in the air, the soft breathing behind him. He had thought he was alone. Now he knew he was never alone. Something had shifted. As he looked out into space, a soft voice came through his earpiece. "Psst. Maya, we've detected Valari ships moving closer to Earth's borders," she said quietly. "Some seem different." "How different?" Derek asked. "Less hidden, more open, like they want us to see them." Derek smiled.
Out.
Then the game has changed. For centuries, the Valari had stayed hidden, watching, waiting. Now they were choosing to be seen. The galaxy was waking up to a new reality, one where humans were no longer the hunted but the watchers too, back on Earth. The awakened worked quietly. More humans with rare senses began to notice strange signs, soft hums in the air, shifting shadows, whispers carried on the wind. They gathered in secret, learning from Derek and Maya how to listen better, how to understand the unseen. Derek traveled often now, meeting with diplomats, scientists, and the awakened. Every time he reminded them, we don't have to be afraid, but we must be ready, ready not with weapons, but with open ears and strong hearts. On the Valerie side, Thal watched too. He had become a bridge between two worlds. Some Valari called him a traitor. Others called him a hero. He did not care for names. He cared for peace. One day Thal stood beside Derek on a hill overlooking a human city. The sun set in colors no alien sky had ever seen. They spoke quietly. "Why do you trust us?" Thal asked. "Because trust is a choice," Derek replied. "And because we have no other path." Thal nodded. "Then let us walk it together." But even as peace grew, shadows remained far away. A Valerie commander whispered orders. "We will show them the cost of seeing." A silent fleet moved toward human space. Ships cloaked in darkness, armed with weapons made to scare and destroy. They believed they could return humans to fear, but humans were not the same. Derek and Maya stood on the command bridge of a new human ship, the Sentinel. It was not the biggest, nor the fastest, but it was a symbol, a sign that humans had awakened to the galaxy's whispers. "They think hiding makes them safe," Maya said. "We will show them the strength in being seen," Derek replied. As the silent fleet approached, sensors caught the movement. Alarms rang through the Sentinel, but no one panicked. Instead, Derek activated the ship's comm system. He whispered into the void. Using Valari words learned from Thal, "We see you, we hear you, but we will not be afraid." The fleet slowed. One by one, ships lowered their shields. The silence was broken by a voice of our commander answering back. "You have spoken. We have listened. This is your choice." A new dialogue began, not of war, but of respect, and somewhere in the quiet corners of the galaxy, a new era was born. Derek returned home after the mission, tired but hopeful. He sat by the window, watching the stars blink softly. He whispered, "To the night we are seen." From the shadows, a soft reply came, "And now we see you."